Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of Phase Zero, Comicbook.com's very own Marvel show by Marvel fans for Marvel fans, where we get into the nitty-gritty of everything that you know and love and expand it even more to make you a smarter, better Marvel fan. I'm Jim Viscardi. Those of you who listen to the show know that this is a big triumph right now. Brandon Davis is out, gone. Kicked him off the show and said, "This is my show now. I'm tired of the slander. I'm taking over." No, Brandon is on a much needed vacation. That dude works incredibly hard. And so with me today, I have Jenna Anderson and Charlie Ridgely. Aaron Perrine should be joining us in a little bit. But guys, are you ready to talk some Marvel stuff?
Absolutely. I'm half expecting this to be just a mostly Moon Knight show, knowing you. So
I literally messaged Jim earlier. I was like, so is this going to be like 90% Moon Knight? Like there was a video of Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke running, and I expected
like
30 minutes
10
of this
minutes
show.
out of that. Yeah.
All right. Yes, I have the things that I like. I didn't even put that technically on the rundown today, but if we want to talk about Moon Knight for a little bit, let's talk about Marvel just released some solicits for August. We got a first look at Moon Knight #2. I know, comic book talk on this show, and it's got, look, everyone. Here's the thing I'm excited for about Moon Knight. This show is probably the first of the Disney Plus shows to introduce a character that almost no one's heard of, and like bring a ton of people. And here's the thing: the Moon Knight is a character at its core. Is a pretty nuanced character, right? So, you know, he deals with multiple personality disorder, and like there's a lot at play there that I'm very interested to see how Disney Plus and Marvel Studios handle. But at the same time, like, look, all the other arms of Marvel are getting ready for it, and so we're getting a new comic book series, which is going to be great. We're going to get Moon Knight merch, which is going to make me go broke. But I am here for it, right? Because like when you're a Moon Knight,
rolled out every Friday for the course of 2 months.
When you are
October of next year,
when you are a Moon Knight fan, you don't have to worry about like a lot of merchandise, right? Like if you're watching live on the show, we stream the show live every Friday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. You can see right behind me, you know, the Moon Knight merchandise is limited, right? Like a figure comes out maybe once every couple years, and you know, Funko Pops, you know, come out. Like he's only got a few looks, and so you can only do so much. So like being a Moon Knight fan, like your wallet is safe. But now that there's a Disney Plus show coming out, it is not safe. And, well, you know, I'm just going to be broke. So, but anyway, like I said, these Moon Knight covers are being done by Steve McNiven, who is one of the best in the game. And good golly, Miss Molly, they look good. So you should definitely, if you're getting ready for Moon Knight, I would say that's a great place to start. Otherwise, if you are looking to get into Moon Knight, you know, obviously, Warren Ellis's run is one that a lot of people look back to. I am very partial to the Vengeance of Moon Knight run. It's a mix of kind of big superhero action and deals with a lot of stuff. The stuff Jeff Lemire did is great. There's a lot of great Moon Knight stuff out there. There's not a ton of it out there. We're going to do a lot more Moon Knight stuff as we get closer to the show, so don't worry.
Are there any specific Moon Knight runs that deal with Dracula, since that's the what everyone thinks is going to happen with Ethan Hawke?
Look, I don't want to spend a ton of time. Like, I don't want this to be a big Moon Knight episode because everyone's Jim show. Let's talk about Moon Knight. But I think, no. I mean, is there anything in particular with Dracula? Not really. Like, there's a small arc here or there that deals with him. But Moon Knight is a character that deals in the extraterrestrial, right? And so, like, he debuted in Werewolf by Night 32, going after, he technically showed up as a villain, I guess, but he does a lot of that stuff, and with the Egyptian god ethos of it, like it gets really weird really fast, which is what kind of makes it a lot of fun. But yeah, no, as far as Dracula and whatever, it's there's not much. Anyway, Moon Knight. Congratulations. We started the show with that. This show probably structured a little different than we normally do. We got a bit of news this week, and so I kind of want to just take a minute to slow down. Usually we burn through the news because we have either shows to talk about or whatever. And we do have a show to talk about. We are going to talk about MODOK in just a little bit. I want to go through some of the news. The Spider-Man account trolled the internet, as it often does. It's one of those, the Spider-Man account is slowly, reaching level of like Wendy status and things like that, where it just goes to troll. And so obviously we are all waiting for a Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. And we got the dad joke of all tweets, where the Spider-Man account retweeted a picture of a trailer with Spider-Man on it and said, "Oh, here you go. How's this?"
I feel like another big show did that, or big movie did that, like recent, like in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron's here.
Aaron, yay!
There we go. Welcome, Aaron. Honestly, I think it was probably the Spider-Man one for Far From Home way back when. I think they're reusing jokes at this point, but that's fine.
A shiny new trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was an animated thing.
Oh, okay.
They're dropping. Oh, it was Space Jam. It was Space Jam.
Oh,
they were
yes,
dropping a trailer. And
Roadrunner
dropped a trailer on Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah. We're just all like resting on dad jokes at this point.
Yeah, basically. I think one of the things too is one of the things that the internet notices, because the internet does not sleep and the internet does not miss a thing, is that a number of the international Sony accounts and Spider-Man accounts all changed their banners to say Spider-Man No Way Home. And so now we're all thinking, are we going to get a trailer soon? Are we going to get a first look? Are we going to get something? I mean, we got some of that EW stuff a little bit ago, where we got some of those first photos and things like that. A trailer may be around the corner.
Maybe.
Thoughts?
I see
Do we
it
still think it's too early?
I think it'll be closer to Black Widow, because it's the thing of like, if you're gonna go see one movie this summer, and ideally in Marvel and Sony's mind it would be Black Widow, then like we're just gonna promote it while you're there, and then that way they can run the trailer like through every other summer movie that comes out. So I don't know. I could see us like getting a poster between now and then, but I feel like it's gonna be a slow drip of information, even though, as we've stated on the show before, we kind of know everything about this movie. Like we know so many people who are allegedly in this movie already, and yet we know nothing.
Yeah, I think the chat is mentioning that like we also have to get Eternals first, and so that I agree, right? Like Spider-Man.
It all depends on if Sony is making this decision or if Marvel's making this decision.
Yeah,
correct.
Because
Sony. That's the thing too. I'm trying to remember when we got some of the Spider-Man ones, if they were attached to big Sony vehicles.
Because I could see Sony just putting something out before Marvel even puts out Eternal stuff, because that's a very Sony-esque thing to do.
Yeah.
But so many of the big Sony movies in 2021, I guess big-ish, have all been sold to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like they have Peter Rabbit, which doesn't really feel like a prime time for a Spider-Man trailer. Ghostbusters is until the fall, right?
Yeah, so it feels like everything is by the fall, because it's like Venom is in like September or October. So
Hotel Transylvania, like there's not a tent pole Sony thing. Yeah, I mean you have Fast 9, F9, whatever is the biggest movie, and that's in a month from now.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's it. Maybe that's where we get it. Because I would imagine, if anything, we get Eternals with Black Widow. Like that feels like it would make sense. Yeah.
If it's coordinated with Marvel, it might be a while. But if it's not, I think around F9 time could be the earliest that we see it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, there we go. Quick question for everyone. Let's poll the room. We'll bring up start talking about the chat now. Who here has watched MODOK?
I've seen the first 3 episodes. I watched them this morning.
Charlie, Aaron, have you seen any of it yet?
I haven't, but I've heard wonderful things from Adam and everyone else.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about Hulu, or not Hulu. We'll talk a little bit about MODOK, and it's an interesting. This show comes at an interesting time, right? This show was announced with 3 other shows that we were supposed to get that have all since been canceled. And
no, Hit Monkey is still happening.
Oh, that's right. Hit Monkey, the show that they announced and then we never heard from again.
Yep.
But Kevin Smith's Howard the Duck does not exist anymore. And that's the biggest disappointment of them all.
Right. And then I guess the other one was New Mutants. Not New Mutants.
No,
New
it
Warriors,
was
right?
Tiger and Dazzler.
Oh, because they were all animated.
Right.
The New Warriors was it still ABC Family or was it Freeform at that point?
It was in that like weird window where they kind of were both, but because then it was
that was announced before Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, all the animated ones were supposed to like then combine in their own like Defender style crossover, which like obviously is not.
It was
at all. The Offenders. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I'll say yeah. So anyway, so like this is the one lone survivor of it all, right? And it comes at a time where, look, these more adult-ish driven animated style superhero shows are really starting to catch on. With Harley Quinn, with Invincible, now we've got MODOK, and it's obviously the most toned down of the other two shows that we just talked about, but it is delightful in its own way. So it's done in the robot chicken style of anime, slow stop motion animation. Obviously they have a bunch of some VFX and stuff that are going there. Patton Oswalt, it was basically born to voice MODOK, and I think that, like, when you think about it too, I don't know if. Let me ask you this: do you think we'll see a live action MODOK?
I feel like we might, but it would be in a place that would be much smaller scale. Of like, that's always been a character where I'm like, throw him in one of the Ant-Man movies or something, or like some just sort of like weird offshoot franchise to where you can still have MODOK exist in the MCU, but it's not like he's not like a huge pivotal villain. Yeah. So I just seeing how much Patton Oswalt cares about this character, of like he's writing the comics, he's voicing the character, like he wants to play him in live action. I'm just like, this feels like a match made in heaven. Like if they don't put him in something, it's going to be a disservice because he is just a perfect choice.
Yeah.
If Marvel had its own Legends of Tomorrow type situation, like where it's purposefully bizarre.
Yeah.
That's the place to do it.
Yeah.
That like
would
Marvel's
be if Marvel
Bebo.
would ever make an Exile show. Like that's what it would be. Like it would be Legends of Tomorrow. But Aaron, what are your thoughts? You think we'll ever get MODOK in live action?
I kind of want it to be like Jenna said, like in one of these like weird Disney Plus things where it's not like the stakes are not huge. I while she was talking, I thought about like, man, if you could give me a Squirrel Girl series, and that's what it leads to, I'd be about that.
I don't think this will happen, but I do want to throw one thing out there that fits all these criteria of being weird and not having any stakes. There is a live action Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Yeah.
That is happening. And Gunn and Waititi seem like the kind of minds that are going to do a thing with a character like MODOK. So
here's the thing. Marvel has this collection of really weird characters, right? Like, Aaron just mentioned one, Squirrel Girl, and you've got MODOK and whatnot that like are darlings, are fan darlings. And but to me, I think MODOK is best served in a show like this. Mm-hmm. And I love it for that because what I don't think you have to be careful of is for those who have played the Marvel Avengers game that MODOK is a part of, like he looks great, right? In that, I just don't know how you put that next to Sam Wilson's Captain America and take it seriously, right? Like
it has to be a comedy,
right? And so anyway. This Hulu show, I've only watched the first 3 episodes. Sorry, excuse me. But I love it. It's wonderfully quirky. It is it'll be a great show to kind of watch from week to week, and we'll talk about it a little more. It's not a show that lends itself to theories or things like that, but like it does lend itself to cameos and Easter eggs, and that's where a lot of the fun is going to be in this show. What are some of your other thoughts, guys?
there are some deep cuts in the show. Like just seeing the first 3 episodes, I was astonished of like, I don't even know this alien that's being introduced. Like this whole thing is completely foreign to me. And the fact that they're pulling that many deep cuts is really impressive. And then like I tweeted about it this morning. At the end of every episode, they promote the MODOK comic book that Patton and Jordan Blum, the showrunner, co-wrote. And I'm like, more projects with the big 2 need to do that. Of like, hey, you watched this show, now immediately go read the comic. Because I feel like, especially with a character like MODOK, who isn't necessarily a household name, the idea of immediately having a thing of like, go read this and you'll have a better understanding of him if you like the show. Like more publishers and more companies need to do that because it's such a great way to like foster this love for your character.
And especially in the world of streaming, like there's no way, there's no reason why Disney Plus couldn't have like at the end of an episode of Falcon Winter Soldier, a link to directly to Marvel.com to the digital comics or whatever. I jumped in really quick. I'm sorry. Aaron was about to say something.
I was just going to say like if you have it set up where, you know, like these sort of deep cut things, that also engenders like a love for comics. Like I was thinking about like over the pandemic, like some of the time I've spent, one of my favorite DC things ever is Batman the Brave and the Bold. It's so fun. There's just all the C and D-list villains that they could possibly dig out of like your omnibus just looking. And I'm like, Marvel should have projects that focus on the weirder people. Like give me like, you know, what is the Jim, do you know the Spider-Man comic where I think it's Rain, where they have a disco what's disco? Yeah.
It was, and that storyline is freaking weird as hell too. So that's definitely that's it. Chat Hypno Hustler.
Yes. I'm like, how has this happened already? Like, why has this existed? So yeah.
No, and that's and again, like that's the thing. Like it's you know, if it's a show you've been on the fence for, I say just like go in and dive in. I wouldn't even want to you know, even go into like what the story is about for you, because I think it's just one of those things that it's better to just know that it's good and then and just jump
and maybe also know that it's like very R-rated.
Yes.
Just kind of know that going in.
Yeah.
If you're not expecting that, there's some surprises.
The only thing I wish, and it's a feature that Amazon Prime has that I wish like other streaming services had. So like when I was watching Invincible, and like if you're watching it on an iPad
Amazon
or
X-ray.
on a laptop, you know, it gives you like facts basically. Like it'll give you a list of everyone who is, you know, is in the scene voicing, right? But it'll also give you like trivia facts about the scene and like changes that were made for the show and the comic. Like I wish that they had that feature for this show, because this show is so just jam-packed with just a ton of Easter eggs and references. And so like, you know, if you are a Marvel fan, definitely go out and check it out. It's on Hulu, available now. And there's the MODOK discussion. All right.
You know, if you use that feature with Invincible, that X-ray feature where it shows you all the people, you can take any Invincible episode at any point in any episode, you can pull that up and find Ross Marquand's IMDb page. That man voices, I mean, 90% of the characters on that show. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
All right. Before we go and take a quick break, I saw something that came across my Twitter feed, and good golly, Miss Molly, these things are not pretty. So, okay, look, I'm gonna caveat this with, I like Funko Pops. I think they are fun, affordable, nice entry level type collectibles for for fans of all genres, right? Like you don't have to be a comic fan, you don't have to be whatever. Except when they do something like this. Rich, can you pull it up on the screen for us? So this is their new artist icon series. Rich is pulling it up, and like I swear these are something. There's a Captain Marvel one, there's a Spider-Man one, there's a Captain America one, and something else. Here they are. There's a Spider-Man one. These are the only available at Target. I don't know who these are for.
So like, they did a similar thing with Disney.
Yeah.
Where like, but they've been really cool, like Star Wars too, where they're like, this is just the same logo over and over again, and that makes it look really weird. Like there's a Sorcerer Mickey that's like dripping paint and all kinds of, it's like a really weird style. Mm-hmm. There was like a weird camo Boba Fett that was like crazy color. Like there's been really cool versions of something like this.
The artist, for the artist series stuff.
This I don't get.
No. I saw these on Instagram yesterday, and I was just like, this feels like there was a brief period a couple of years ago where Funko got really into like wood grain pops of like pops that just look like they're made out of wood, and like this has the same energy to me. And like these and the street art ones from last year, where it was just like a pop in front of a background, and you almost can't see the pop because there's just like graffiti written all over it. It's like this is something that theoretically could be cool, but it does not translate in my mind to a 3-dimensional pop, and I'm just like waiting for like a paint error or something to completely screw one of these up and just make it look awful. And it's just like I don't know, I'm not a big variant person of just unnecessary like new coats of paint on the same pop, but like these especially, I'm just like, why?
It's like the chrome ones.
The chrome ones I understand. But I tell you what, my favorite subline of Marvel like Funko Pops are the blacklight ones. I don't know if you've seen those, but those, or Charlie, you've got them, right? You've got a bunch of them. The blacklight ones, like the ones that like, don't you have them in a box? I guess I thought you did.
No, I've got a light box up here that has the box has lighting in it.
Fair enough.
It's above my Captain America poster.
There are there's right. No, there's a line of them that are all that are blacklight, and those are really, really cool.
Well, also because just like on their own, they just look like a Jack Kirby kind of inspired aesthetic. It's like that. I don't even need to use a blacklight to appreciate the aesthetic here. Whereas like this one just looks like you wrapped it in like weird vinyl that I don't really see a reason why. It's just, I don't know. Like there's artistic ways to do a variant, and then there's these.
They look like the ones we just showed look like binders I would get for like either trading cards or whatnot. But Aaron, you look like you were about to say something.
Yeah. Binder thing. It was like, no, oh my god. I'm just laughing at like was it Freeman Steven 24 saying that it's a Where's Waldo pop because from any distance I can't tell what's going on. I don't know except for that I'm like, oh, Spider-Man. I guess.
No, it's a magic eye. You need to hold it real close to your face.
I don't want to display that.
Oh, those were
dope. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so those are the ugly Funko Pops that destroyed my morning. But anything, let's go. Let's take a quick 60-second break. We'll be back. We'll go through some more news and some more fun discussions. We'll be back in 60. So Sebastian Stan has been doing some more interview rounds as of late. And in a recent interview with Variety had mentioned, someone asked him the question on what is your take on, super fans, stans, and them shipping, you with various characters. And in this case, Sam and Bucky. And look, Sebastian Stan, he's here for them. He is here for them. And I think in the quote, he goes, look, I'm just happy that the relationship is embraced, and it should be embraced in whatever way or fashion that people desire and want it to be. That's the correct answer to that question.
I agree.
100%.
It's certainly the best way to answer that question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's it's interesting. I am sorry. I am just dry throat today.
You finally get to host and you can't even talk.
I know.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but I think here, this is one of those things where, like fandom grows in very unique ways, and you can never tell with anything how or where it's going to go, right? And so, for this to happen, and and like I said, people were shipping Bucky and Steve and all that, and all whatever variations, permutations you want to make. This is it's just a cool way for just know that the actors are like, yep, no, I get it, and like I'm here for it.
It's the same thing. I mean, we watched Oscar Isaac and John Boyega like completely embrace that. I don't know if it was. I think it was partly like in defiance of what Star Wars became with Rise of Skywalker and everything that they kind of went through there. But like they were fully on the the Finn Poe train by the end of it. And like Sebastian Stan's been in Marvel long enough. Like he's having fun with everything, and
yeah,
like we all know that Marvel's never going to make Sam and Bucky a couple, but like that's part of the fun of fandom is seeing different stories in things, and for the actors to then like be happy about that and not like fight against it and not like turn it down, just be like, yeah, like it should be what we want it to be and it should be how we enjoy it. Like that's a really cool thing to see from someone like Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, I think like since he's been in the franchise for so long, and like as somebody who kind of cut my teeth on the internet shipping Steve and Bucky, like I feel like this is definitely the good approach to it, and I'm really glad that he has this outlook, because like I look at shows like Supernatural and Sherlock that kind of like had a much different relationship with their fans, and especially with the fans who would then ship like queer relationships on the show, and they would kind of like use that to their advantage. Of like Supernatural in particular, it's like we're gonna kind of just like string you along for 15 years and then never have this really mean anything. And so I think Bucky and I think Sebastian just kind of acknowledging like people will gravitate what they want out of Bucky and his time in the MCU. And so like just there's really no way of going about it. Like I think that's a much better approach than just kind of being like no homo.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say that ship does not make as much sense to me as Bucky and Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on, I mean, part of it was the longevity of that.
Well, I think like I've spoken to like Tumblr's trend expert, because Sam Bucky is like a huge thing there, and like a lot of it is the kind of like antagonist to lovers aspect of it. Of like they start out kind of at war with each other, and then they eventually develop this bond. And I think it's just this thing of like we're so not used to seeing just like healthy masculine relationships on TV of like just two dudes just having a very good relationship with each other. And so like if people want to interpret that romantically or just platonically, like it's kind of up to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For sure. All right, let's get to some Loki news. We got Loki coming in just a little bit. We got a new, I guess, TV spot, I guess is what you can call it. And in it, we get to further, fall in love with Miss Minutes. We get to see just how in shape Tom Hiddleston is. Which everyone was crazy happy about, and honestly, like I've always been excited for Loki. Seeing more and more of this stuff has me incredibly hyper excited for Loki. What this show has the potential to be, and that's the thing too, right? Like I don't want to like hype it up to this gigantic thing, and then if it ultimately lets everyone down, be like, well, it was supposed to be great, but like. I'm going into this feeling pretty confident that I think this is going to be a show that we're going to like. Tom Hiddleston just bleeds and just drips like just the right kind of charisma, and like smarmy charisma that is just so exciting. So having seen some of the marketing and stuff, are you guys still equally as hyped? Am I overhyping Loki? Do I need to tamp down my expectations, we feel?
No, I'm right there with you. I love how the selling point of the show is like not really plot or like the season-long arc. Like we really know nothing going into the show other than these little vignettes, but it's like we're just selling it on like Tom Hiddleston being shirtless, which I feel like is the best marketing decision for Marvel to make. And then it's just like him and Owen Wilson interacting with each other. Even if you stripped away like the Marvel of it all, the idea of putting the two of them in a thing together and having them act against each other, that is going to be a huge selling point for people. And so like when you mix that with the like weird, ominous aesthetic of the show, it's like, I don't know what I'm getting. Because I know there was a quote from the director the other day that like the influences of the show were Blade Runner and Teletubbies, which is a combination of things that I never would have heard in the same sentence ever in a million years. And so the fact that that seems to be the vibe and they're just going with it, I'm like, whatever they're going to do, I'm going to be excited for.
Aaron, thoughts?
Oh, sorry.
I was just going down.
You're good. I waited for the silence.
I'm just excited because I think that if this goes over the way we all think it's going to go over, like it's going to be pretty much proof positive that the weirder aspects of Marvel are where they should probably focus a lot of their time. Like the more grounded things seem to be like a little bit harder to pull off sometimes in this like TV format. And going as far out as possible, pushing the boat out is probably the way to go. I mean, I don't know. Like Jim said, it feels like we're running into like an in-game situation where all of the stuff from the trailers and things could be from the first 15 minutes of the first episode. And then the rest of it's just insane. Like the Pompeii thing could be from the first 10 minutes of the first episode. We just don't know. So I'm excited. It's going to be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah. Charlie?
I mean, I'm honestly I'm hoping that there's not as much story because I just want to watch Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson just in a room together for as long as possible. Like that is the biggest thing for me.
If this just ends up being a really weird and bizarre season of True Detective, I'm okay with that. Right?
Well, like I've been using
the season thing.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to explain it to people. Like my boyfriend and I explained it to his mom of like, it's very Doctor Who-esque of like, it seems like each episode is going to kind of veer off into its own weird storyline. But then by and large, the plot is just kind of all of those hijinks.
Right.
And so my two thoughts kind of one piggybacking off what Jim said. And then Jenna, you kind of brought another idea to my mind. You know, this is the first time, the first of these shows, it's like, oh, this could be a multi-season thing. And we all, I think, are kind of expecting that. Like the other shows were like, here's this period in time where we're going to tell this story from what we've seen in the movies. And that's what we have to do. This is completely its own because of the multiverse and the timelines and stuff. And that kind of leads me into like, not why do we need What If, but like, it's interesting that they chose to do this and What If around the same time. Because this feels like a what if scenario of like, we're going to go to different eras, different timelines, different, multiverse, different universes and explore what's happening there with a character that we really love and we all think is hilarious. Like we could have seen the Peggy Carter Captain America in there, we could have seen a thing with a zombie. Like this could have just been a full on What If show. So it makes me really curious as to what it is going to be because they're doing What If.
Well, but that's one of the things too, because just yesterday there was another interview with Feige where Feige basically said, he goes, part of the fun of the multiverse and playing with time is seeing other versions of characters and other versions of the titular character in particular. So obviously we know we're going to see other versions of Loki. Like that is a thing, but like, but Feige straight out says like, we may see other versions of characters, which Charlie, you're exactly right, feels more like a what if thing than anything else. And so it'll be interesting to see.
There's no way we don't see some kind of Thor in this. Like there's for one episode, for one scene, even like I feel like there's no way.
Yeah. And
they've kept a lot of secrets with this show, that more so than I feel like they did the two other shows. Yeah. If we thought WandaVision had theories, man, this is going to be.
Yeah.
Well, and again, but like, and Jenna brought up another great point too, where she basically, like this feels more like a show made for television, in the same way that WandaVision inevitably, I think, became more of a show fit for television. Like the first couple episodes, obviously, did their thing, but even still, I would say the later episodes still felt very episodic in nature, problem of the week kind of thing while telling an overall thing, where Falcon Winter Soldier wasn't necessarily that, right? Like that definitely felt like a movie that was chopped up a little bit. And here, like I said, I think this is where that's what gets me excited for this. I'm a huge sucker for procedurals. And so,
Internet's number one Blacklist fan.
I know.
Right. I know. Look, like I said, I'm a huge procedurals fan. So That's just it. That's what gets me excited for this one. So, but that said, like, Feige just cracked open that door just a little bit wider. We may start seeing some alternate characters. Like, look, maybe this is where we get that rumored Chris Evans cameo. It's probably not, but Feige's making it.
That's the thing is that
possible.
Like, when it was WandaVision, like there was all the Mephistos. So it's like, well, maybe this is a Doctor Strange. While there were so many ideas, there was still a limited pool of like, okay, this could not, like, there's no way that Steve Rogers would be in this show because that wouldn't make any sense at all.
Right.
There truly is not a boundary or a limit.
Oh, I know.
To what could happen, to what could be explored. And that's part of why it's so enticing. Like Jenna said, there's just, you don't know what they're going to do.
Like, it's weird to me. I'm like a huge fan of the Squadron Supreme, and it's weird that like there's been this theory for years of like Loki could maybe introduce them, and like the fact that feels plausible and like something that I could realistically look forward to and potentially expect on the show when that would have seemed like unheard of 5 or so years ago is like, I am just on board. Whatever they bring in, I know it's going to be the weird minutia from the comics and the MCU itself that like nobody is expecting.
Yeah.
What's the absolute weirdest, most insane Marvel thing that you hope, like, even if you don't think it's going to happen? Like, just the thing from comics that you're like, I could never see this anywhere but this show. Like, what's the thing you want to see?
For me, the Squadron Supreme is kind of that, because it's like the idea of just kind of embracing like this is the Marvel Universe's version of the Justice League, and like all of the kind of caveats that come with that, and the way that they would tell that story in live action based on like what people have as preconceived notions for the Justice League. It's like if they could pull that off in the show, I would be so happy. Even if it's just like Hyperion and a couple of other characters, it's like if they do their own version of it, I'm on board for whatever.
Could you imagine though, in like 5 years, Marvel making a Squadron Supreme movie?
Oh, I would be so
like Marvel
happy.
Basically making Justice League, like that would just.
They could do it. There's enough lore that they could realistically do their own version if they really wanted to.
Oh, for sure.
I'm just gonna throw this out. Think about it, because if it's ever gonna be in live action, this is the place to do it. Maybe in a season 2 as like the villain that Loki has to track down. If there is a place to do the Cosmic Ghost Rider, it is on this Loki show with the TVA. Like, the first season he's fixing his mistakes. The second season they're like, oh, there's some big problem because someone killed Thanos at the end of time, and then Loki and Owen Wilson have to just track down flamified Frank Castle, like on a cosmic bike. You want to get crazy? Let's get crazy.
I love it.
Yeah. Aaron?
Just randomly and just to infuriate everybody, I guess, just bringing back all the Netflix defenders and having a fight with them in an episode. That just to light the internet on fire, just throw the match and it's going on. Like, that's what I want to see. That would be insane.
I think I love that idea. But before I go into because I mumbled it under my breath just before, but I'll say mine in just a second. But the thing that I don't know if Marvel is committing to or not with these Disney Plus shows is making big reveals like that on the shows. I think those are ones that like they need to save for the theater blockbusters and all that. But man, I would love that. That's you're right. It's a great way to pull them in and bring them in. Mine was Man Thing, because that is just as strange of a Marvel entity as you can get, but one that realistically kind of would fit in the whole, dimension hopping thing. And, if he just shows up in the background, I would not be surprised if he is mentioned in the show.
Doctor Strange Multiverse is where it kind of feels like he would fit.
Yeah.
Right.
Too. Like, in addition to Loki, like that kind of.
And so much so, we'll move on to the next topic where like the big thing that came out this week on the rumored big villain of Doctor Strange 2 is Shumagorath. And look, we're talking about big weird things that you never thought we'd see on TV. A giant one-eyed, multi-tentacled kind of, interdimensional being. That's almost as weird as you get. And so
especially if like the nature of that art, like the report about it said like Shu McGrath is hunting down America Chavez because like she can control the multiverse and he wants it for himself. And so like the idea of this massive tentacled beast being like, I want that teenage girl, like I'm gonna go fight the multiverse for that teenage girl. It's like this movie could like that would be amazing. That is I'm in, regardless of whatever happens from there. That's enough of a plot to sell me on the movie.
Like if you think about Ewan McGregor from Birds of Prey, but then like make him Shu McGrath.
Yes.
Like that's what they're going for. It feels like it's like they saw that Suicide Squad trailer and it's like, oh, okay, starfish, meet big tentacle creature.
Yep. Let them fight.
I think, but like that, it's just so. And we've kind of mentioned it a little bit here and there throughout the whole show, but like we're at a point now with the MCU that all of this weird stuff doesn't seem so far off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of amazing.
I love it, honestly.
It has to get weird. Like it can't with Endgame, like that wasn't an open door to do all the weird stuff, but you think about like a 20-year span of movie or a 10-year span of movies, 20 some movies. It's like you have to do something different if you want to go forward past that. Endgame really felt like the perfect ending to a saga. The MCU could have stopped after Endgame, and I mean it would have been complete and whole and great. And they're going to continue, which I'm glad about. But like you can't just make more Iron Man movies, Like you gotta change the status quo, and the Disney Plus shows have really done a good job of that. But it has to extend to the movies too. And that's, you look at Thor 4, you look at Doctor Strange, The Eternals. Those are movies that feel very different from what we've already got. And that's what's going to have to happen on a regular basis. Even when you mix in stuff like Shang-Chi has a bunch of new characters. And I think some of those sequences in that trailer are like, okay, this might actually go in a completely different direction. And that's what I hope. But even if it is just an action movie, it works as long as there are other things that are changing the tone and changing the direction. There has to be variety going forward, or this whole thing kind of starts to feel stale real quick.
Right.
But even then, we have like giant CG wolves, and like the toys have revealed like we get a giant dragon. So it's like even if this movie is a very
those two scenes in the trailer where they're like, it's like, oh, this is. I'm very intrigued by that. That's a whole.
You can tell this is the opposite shot of something that is very cool, just out of shot.
Yeah. Like I was writing an article about this last night that's going to go live on the site in a couple of weeks of like, it feels like when the MCU started, it was very much the like world outside your window mentality of like, we're going to make action movies that are they're fantastical when they need to be, but they're still based in this kind of action movie reality. And it's like, we've gotten so far beyond that with like Guardians and Ragnarok and Infinity War to where it's like, everything is just there's like no status quo. Like you can throw in gigantic kaiju and like gigantic wolves. And like, you've gotten to the point where audiences love a talking tree and a talking raccoon and are very emotional about those characters. So it's like at that point, you can sell audiences on basically anything at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, post Blip, the ordinary world is kind of gone.
Yeah.
Aaron, what about the future of the MCU gets you excited?
I think that's what you guys are hinting at, where it's like literally anything is possible. Like whatever, even 5 or 6 years ago, there were just some things where you're like, that's just not going to happen. Like, that's not going down. But now, like literally, like any weird thing that you enjoy from the comics that you could think of, like, is absolutely on the table. Like, I've been kidding with Spencer all the time. Like, we're going to remember this when Sam Wilson turns into fucking Cap Wolf in Captain America 4. We're going to remember this. I'm like, when they make what's the name of it? I always joke around about it with you guys, and then they actually just brought it back. What's the name of that 90s event where they're inside the pocket dimension? Heroes Reborn?
Yeah.
Heroes Reborn happens as Avengers 5, don't at me. You know what I mean? And the fact that can actually happen is nuts.
It's not just the weird stuff too. It's the Isaiah Bradley of it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Never thought they'd do like actual Isaiah Bradley, like a name drop or something, but like they did real Isaiah Bradley in the MCU.
Charlie, when the report came down, I'm like, I won't believe it till I see it. I'm like, you'll be in like 15 minutes of it. There's no way, man. And then it's like he was in multiple episodes in the main part of the thing. I was like, this is insanity. I couldn't believe it.
I think it's this balance between like absolute visual and like narrative craziness, and then also this like emotion, which I like. Just one more thing I'll say about that is like, as an X-Men fan, I feel like the MCU is at this point now where I feel comfortable with them introducing the X-Men, because the X-Men is this perfect blend of absolute weird powers and weird mythology and weird events, but also emotion and heart and like real issues. And I feel like with the way that the MCU is building now post Endgame, I trust them to bring in the X-Men and do them correctly, because it feels like the foundation for that level of like unembarrassed weirdness is just there.
The crazy thing about
it's like a weird blend of Falcon and Winter Soldier and Thor Ragnarok, of like those two polar opposite things, like making one connected story. That's really cool.
It's also evident in the text too, because now we're getting to a point where people have their comics accurate costumes.
Yes,
like they're not afraid for it to be goofy or like weird looking on screen anymore. They're like, no, like Captain America's just gonna have wings. Wanda's gonna be rolling around with like the headdress and the whole shot. Like, this is what we're doing now, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what's so crazy though? Like, when they finally introduce the X-Men, like we're gonna get to a point where like we're going to be able to like basically alternate months for different movies, right? Like mainline Marvel hero in January, X-Men movie in February, another Marvel movie in March, and then like literally just swap off for years to come. And that is just like the absolute nuttiest thing. The other thing too, right? That's an exciting thing to look forward to is Marvel traditionally in the comics has not up until very recently has handled the idea of legacy, right? And legacy characters and whatnot. And it almost felt like they saw they are not going to be able to keep their actors for as long as they want for certain stuff. And so that like they needed to start getting, some of the legacy stuff up and running. That like that future and those possibilities are so, unlimited and untapped potential that like, that is going to be stuff that, my 5-year-old now is going to be growing up on and be like, her Iron Man is going to be way different than my Iron Man and vice versa. And it's just it's so wild to think.
And you see some of these not no-name performers, but like not huge stars getting, Riri was cast, and she is a fairly, unknown actor. Same with Kamala. And what they did with Danny Ramirez, and like, because you think about, you've had all these big actors come in. Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston weren't as big when they came in, but like Sebastian Stan was relatively unknown. He got like a 10 or 11 movie contract like out of the gate, so that like they had him locked down for a decade or more. And I'd love to see what some of these like young actors' contracts look like, because it's like when you hit the MCU, you become huge and you take off, but like they need you for a bunch of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many things is Kamala Khan signed up for right now? Like,
right.
Does she have a 13? You look at like baseball players right now. Like, Bryce Harper got like that 13-year contract or something.
Jeez.
It's like all of these young actors are signing away their lives to be this character, but they're also really excited about being that character. So it's a cool thing to like think about how this is going to go over the next decade without Robert Downey Jr., without, for the most part, if at all, Chris Evans, without Scarlett Johansson, like how they navigate these younger characters and these legacy characters, like Jim talked about.
Right. And then we got a viewer on YouTube, Spider Dan 2099, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur would be crazy cool. Like that to me, like as much as I would love to see like that in live action, because like I love Devil Dinosaur, and Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur was such a great series. That is an animated show through and through. And like I am like, that is something that I wish they would put on the fast track for it, because I think that there are so many cool ideas and things there that that I know, right? Like, I mean, my kids will probably age out of it before something like that ever shows up, but like that's
I thought they are developing a show for Disney Channel.
Are they?
Yeah, with Lawrence Fishburne's like EPing it. I think they released PR like a couple months ago, but it just fell under the radar because everyone was so bombarded with other Marvel stuff. But yeah, they're definitely making like a kids animated show about it, which is great.
You are 1000% correct, and I totally forgot about it, and it's coming out next year, and I need it now.
Awesome.
But there's a whole thing now of like all these things that we've always been like, this feels like an animated thing.
Yeah.
Like not as a rag, but like this is just such a weird concept. Like, like MODOK. This is a great animated thing. But like now with the way the MCU is going, I don't necessarily think that anymore about so many of these things. It's like, well, this could be animated and be great, but this could also work in live action with what they've done and like look cool and feel good and actually make sense.
Well, I think going back to what you were saying earlier about like why does What If need to exist if we also have Loki, it's like I feel like the What If show is going to accomplish something completely different of like it's able to pull off this sense of like endgame level spectacle but on a TV budget, and also like just kind of utilizing the Marvel style of the comics and just utilizing the voice cast without being like, okay, Haley Atwell, you need to get in shape for 2 years to go be Peggy Carter Captain America, or like, okay, Thor, you need to go be like Party Thor or whatever. Like they're able to take these weird creative risks without having it have to be a live action thing.
Yeah. Well, and go ahead.
I was just going to ask, like, is there a function of this that functions like that A-Force scene in Endgame too, where they're like they're using and seeding ideas beforehand to see what people glom onto, and then we can bring it to live action after the fact as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like with What If there is a chance of like eventually down the line we could see like a live action Peggy Carter Cap or something like that. Like if that's something people respond to. It's just like there's so much multiverse stuff that I feel like it's all going to build to something that people are really going to be impressed by.
Yeah. No,
I feel like there's going to be some point in What If where there is some kind of scene that's live action. Just like, you know, because it's supposed to be canon or technically whatever.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's just with the Watchers, or if it's just like one scene and one thing that like it comes out of nowhere and really shocks everybody. Like this, it does open up to even, you know, more possibilities than Loki potentially with
definitely.
what they can do.
There is a little bit of breaking-ish news that we need to talk about. Evangeline Lilly posted something on Instagram, posted a script from Quantumania, and for some reason tagged Corey Stoll. Could we see Yellow Jacket in Ant-Man 3? Maybe.
I mean,
did he get? I can't remember. Did he get splattered?
I forget how he died.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how he died.
He just shrunk to death
and disappeared.
Didn't he?
Which, maybe if we're dealing with the quantum realm,
right? That's what I'm saying.
He could just be hiding in the quantum city or something.
Let me look it up so that I'm not wrong.
Yeah. I feel like since like the MCU has a good track record of like, okay, we're doing a trilogy and we're going to make it feel like its own trilogy, even if it's setting up a million other things in the process. So it's like, yeah, just bring him back if you need, like if you have a story reason to do so, because then you're kind of paying homage to like where Ant-Man 1 started versus like how crazy it has gotten to Ant-Man 3.
Yeah. Well, I think also too, right? Like even like closing the loop on that arc.
Yeah.
Like that Yellow Jacket character, if he went to the quantum, if he's in the quantum realm, right now, like if he's able, obviously they're going to go back, and so if he's able to find his way out, like he's going to want like either revenge or something, and so it's a great way to like he's just to close that loop and bring that story kind of full circle.
Well, and I feel like we could kind of get the Zemo treatment with him of like whatever people thought were kind of like bland or kind of boring about him, you could really kind of lean into a more fun kind of kooky aspect, because I know like Ant-Man 1 kind of had two different stories it was telling at the same time because of Edgar Wright of it all. And so like if you brought him in and kind of said this is your clear direction as the villain, I feel like he could kind of be a little bit weirder and wilder the way that Zemo has kind of become.
Yep. Yeah. So
okay,
I mean, look,
I'm looking at it right now. He basically like Scott went subatomic and went inside Yellow Jacket's suit, and then the suit like crumpled in on itself.
Oh yeah,
and then like shrunk into dust basically. So we don't know if he was like killed when the suit went in, and then the suit went into nothing. So he could absolutely be in the quantum realm. It's one of those that classic like you didn't really see him die.
Yeah.
So
all right. Well, who knows? I guess we'll see. That is going to do it for us today. Thank you guys for joining us on the show today. Thank you, Jenna, Aaron, and Charlie, for going through a much easier show, I would say. I think the show flows a lot nicer when Brandon is not around to spew his bad ideas and all things like that. Like just I'm kidding. We love Brandon.
The opening for next week is going to be really interesting.
No, but I think look, here's one of the greatest things I love about this show. It is obviously you guys, but it's also the chat. Got a lot of love for chat. Got a lot of love for folks who are interacting with us over at Phase Zero CB on Twitter. Those who just are hitting any of us up on Twitter, like we totally appreciate it. That's what makes this incredibly special, because we are we're building a little community here, and that's one of the things that was always the goal. When we do these things. It's the same for the other show I do, A Wild Podcast, for Comic Book Nation. This is everyone here and everyone at Comicbook.com does this because we love it, and it's just one of those things to be able to share that passion and just some of the stuff that we in the business learn and know with you guys to help you make you guys better fans. More educated fans in that sense is the goal of this, and I think we're doing okay at it. Who knows? If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on any and all of the social platforms at Jim Viscardi. You can find Jenna at
Hey, it's Jenna Lynn. I know people in the chat over the weeks have asked if I might do a pop tour of all the Funko stuff that I have, and I might be planning something for that. So follow me on Twitter at Hey, it's Jenna Lynn if you want to see that happen. So
there we go. Boom.
Jenna, were you in the news today? There was. It wasn't you. There was a Guinness,
Guinness World Record. Over 7,000 pops.
No, I'm nowhere near that close. I hope to not be, because I do like having room for other things that are not Funko Pops. I love having comics and statues and everything else, but I'm happy with the little collection I have.
Yeah, for sure. Aaron, where can people find you online?
It's at Some of the Corner on Twitter, and I have word from one Jamie Jurek that she thinks that Sebastian Stan on the shipping thing is amazing and that she misses you all. So there you go.
That's it. I think part of that, we tried to get Jamie on the show this week. Part of that's my fault. I thought yesterday was Wednesday, and it was not. Yesterday was Thursday.
I thought yesterday was Wednesday too.
Yeah, and so even when it came to is Jenna or Aaron going to be on the show today, I was like, ooh, I forgot to mention to them, hey, gonna need you tomorrow. But we came together, and Jamie is here with us in spirit. Brandon will be back next week manning the ship. I'll probably be harassing him in chat. But until next time, folks, make sure you go out and watch MODOK. Go read some comics, and we'll talk to you next week.